Okay, I would like to call our regular Board of Education meeting to order. This evening, we have the great pleasure of having the Middle School Student Council and the Lee Lego Club here to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So if those students could please come up here to the front, the Lego Club and the Middle School Student Council, along with their advisors. Come on up. Right up here, all the way up. You can line up all the way along, and some of you can get in the front if we've got, they look good, keep coming. Excellent. Is that everyone? Okay. We have with us this evening from the Middle School Student Council, we have Lily Pierce, who is the president, Maddie Rigoli, Bryce Germain, and did we have one more, Sophie? Sophie Friend. Oh, there she is, right in front. Okay. As along with their advisor, Mrs. Jar, is here tonight. And from the Lee Lego Club, we have Ava Widmeyer, Lily Ahrens, Michael Condon, Riley Good, Mikey Dalio, Landon Honold, Cooper Honold, and their sister Peyton Honold, Jalen Joswiak, Evan Labish, Kelsey Pendry, Lola Krushinska, and Braden Bennis. Excellent. Thank you and welcome and thanks for coming. And if you guys now would turn around, if we could all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. And whenever you're ready to start, we're ready.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And I forgot to mention that Mrs. Durst from the Lego Club Advisor is here as well. So thank you guys, you did a great job. Oh, thank you very much for coming. Okay. Next, our mission statement.
At Richmond Community Schools, we provide a quality education that empowers students to be successful in a global community. Andy.
Here.
Chris.
Here.
Tracy.
Here.
Jeff.
Here.
Dan.
Here.
Margaret.
Here.
And I am here. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Next would be a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved. Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next is our True Blue moment. Mr. Berkmeyer is here tonight. We are focusing a spotlight on our robotics team and our Lego Club.
Good evening. Thank you for having me up here. One of the great things that we have here in Richmond is our robotics team and our Lego Club at Lee Elementary. Ms. Durst was very dedicated this year and took over 150 students into our Lego Club, which is going to lead into an even stronger robotics program, and I think you'll hear tonight that they have a very strong program as we're going forward. I'd like to bring Ms. Durst up here first, thank her for her dedication this year, and bring her up here to share a little bit more about the Lee Lego Club.
Hello, everyone. I have just a little flyer, a little information, just so you can see what. A little video that shows
Ready?
Stay with me. Come and play with me. Run away with me. Just you and me. Happy days. Every day. We will be okay. Come what may. You and me will always be together. We will always be together. Here we are, like a shooting star across the sky. You and I, we can fly. Memories won't die. There'll be no goodbyes for you and I. You and me will always be together. We will always be together. You and me will always be together. We will always be. You and me will always be together. We will always be together. Stay with me. Come and play with me. Run away with me. Just you and me. Happy days. Every day.
Just a little snippet of some of the fun things that we did. I'm just going to talk briefly to give you a little history why I started Lego Club. I came across some ideas about STEM education, some articles that I read, and I wanted to see how I could incorporate that into the elementary level, and I saw ideas for Lego Club. So I decided to start one at the Lee School, and then through a conversation with Mr. Potts, who helps out the high school robotics, he said to me, I really need someone over there to try and start a junior robotics program. So I kind of hemmed and hawed a little bit. It took me a while to get started, and then after 3 years of Lego Club, I decided this would be the year that I would start junior robotics. And as we said, I started 60 kids 3 years ago in the Lego Club. Now I have 150. I'm a sap. I have a hard time turning anyone away. So, I have like 75 kids about each time that they come on Wednesdays. I have a group on Wednesdays and a group on Fridays. We finished up. I had lots of help this year. I had Deanna Powers and Teresa Ranger, two teachers that helped me out. Mrs. Schultz her son, Lucas Schultz, second grader, she came and helped me up on Fridays. Alyssa Turnan, she helped, she's a member of the high school team. She organized the schedule, and lots of the members that are sitting out there came and helped out and built with the kids. They came and helped out. It was really, really neat. We had, especially one challenge we had was a skyscraper challenge, and some of the high school members were racing against my kids who could build the tallest skyscraper. It was a hoot. It was really a neat experience, and to see the high schoolers down there on the floor building with my students, and it's a really neat club because it doesn't cost the kids anything, and anyone can be a part of it. And I really wanted to do something where anyone could join, anyone could do it, no cost, because I know there's so many things that nickel and dime parents to death, and everything costs everything. I wanted something where anyone could be a part. And so that's kind of how that went about. We had a skyscraper challenge, a vehicle challenge, outer space challenge, Minecraft challenge, that was hugely popular, and an animal challenge. And then what we did each week is I picked a grade level, and then there's a display cabinet in the library, and we put some of their things in there that they built so that kids could see it throughout the week. They loved having their items that they built up there on display. And then, like I said, this year I'm now into, this is day 4 today of the junior robotics. I filled out a grant with the Richmond Education Foundation, which I luckily received. And I have 2 6-person member team. I have 2 teams of 3 boys and 3 girls each, and they come and meet in my room 3 days a week for an hour and a half after school. And that's also been good times. It's interesting seeing their little minds work because, they all don't agree. And we kept bringing to the table, it's like a business deal, sometimes you have to give and take, and they're really kind of funny, their little conversations that they have about why theirs is better than someone else's or what we should do together. But it's been, so far, a really neat experience. And I just want to briefly, and I'll be done, I know I'm kind of talking a lot here, but how I chose the team. What I did was I looked back to see who was in Lego Club the past 2 years, and then I took those names, and then I looked at attendance, their consistency in attendance, and then I looked at notes that I wrote to myself about structures that students built, conversations I had with students about higher level thinking questions that I asked and how their response was to me, how they presented what they made, and then I put those names in a hat and then I pulled them out. I mean, I wish I could have everyone part of it, but I couldn't. I could only have 6 members per team, and I had 2 teams. So that's kind of how that came about. So I'm hoping in the long run to build next year to do 4th and 5th grade. Maybe bring some middle schools over to get it kind of over in the middle school. That's my goal. And I really like to see the high school get even bigger and bigger. I'd like to help them out. So the kids love it. So I appreciate the opportunity to do this. So thank you.
Okay, I guess I got one question for you.
Oh, sure.
So what do you need from us to give you more support? If you needed something.
That's a good question. I don't know. I think probably, I know that I got the grant money. I would, if there was any other way to get more money toward the program that I could maybe have more teams, like to try and encourage more teachers, more people to take on and help. So that it's not always, I love doing it, don't get me wrong, but I kind of don't see my family for a really long period of time.
It's a big undertaking.
Money set aside maybe in a budget for robotics for at the league level or the middle school level to buy product, because it's really the product that you get is what's the most costly part for it. Because I'd like to keep it at lowest or no cost for the kids to participate for as long as they can.
Fiscally, it's always a challenge, but you got more support, resources, manpower, or assistants, volunteers, that
And I'm
helps.
just starting out, so eventually I know that they have, I'm not going to get wrong, you do have to get sponsors and things, right, you get for your, so that would probably be something that I would have to look into in the future, getting community sponsors to help even just at our level. And I did mention, I forgot to mention at the end, after they do their presentation, they do a show me poster where they have to show all the process that they did to get to their end product. Their thinking challenge was to pick a place and where you learn something, like a museum, and then a tool that helps you learn about it, and then they have to build that into their model. And so at the very end, I'll send out an email to invite you to come.
Oh, that'd be good.
You can come and they can talk to you. You can talk to them about their process, what they did, how they built it.
That would be good. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, I'd like to thank the Lego Club and Junior Robotics is just one of the great things that we have going on here at Richmond, and she didn't expect it to be as big as it is this year, but her open heart was more than willing to take on those 150 students. And I know the high school robotics team, who is excited to grow the program and has been looking for ways to grow it, is excited to have a Lego and Junior Robotics Club going. And speaking of the high school robotics team, they are here tonight as well. The Richmond High School robotics team competed in St. Louis last week. Mr. Rubin is not here to give a report, so he asked me to share this with you. There are over 608 teams competing in 8 divisions. After overcoming some obstacles, the team climbed up in the rankings and finished in 33rd place in their division. They were, however, picked for the 8th Alliance, and they climbed all the way to 3rd place, but in the semifinals, dropped down to 6th place in the finals. So they had a very good showing representing Richmond at the World Championships in St. Louis, and I'd like to introduce the team who is going to come up here, tell a little bit about the robot, and give a demonstration. Gentlemen.
Afternoon. Some of you may or may not know, this is our 4th year as a team. We have 3 captains that are present, myself, Brandon Potts, build captain, Emma Kettle, safety captain, and Alyssa Turnen, business captain. As we approached our 4th season as a team, we knew that we had some obstacles to overcome as a team, but the team pulled together very well and worked together to overcome these obstacles as far as budget and a lot of new kids. Most of our team, we had 6 new kids this year, 6 seniors. The rest are middle-classmen. We had a total of 16 kids this year. We went on to have our 4th amazing, successful season this year. It's just been incredible getting to St. Louis again, first time since our rookie year. And if Mr. Wamsley would play this year's animation so you can see what we had to do.
You want the October final or the game reveal? Game revealed.
You've been waiting for the 2015 First Robotics Competition game, Recycle Rush. Here's the 2015 field. The theme is recycling, and the objective is to build stacks of totes, place recycling bins on top, and recycle litter. The game is played by 2 alliances of 3 teams each on a 27 by 54 foot field, divided into red and blue sides by a step. There are human player stations in the corners. Each side has a landfill zone, an auto zone, and 2 scoring platforms. Alliances stay on their own side of the field throughout the 2.5-minute match, though there will be some interaction near the step. Now let's prepare the field for a match. The field and alliance stations are stocked with 3 types of game pieces: totes, recycling containers, and pool noodles, which we call litter. Yellow totes have some reflective tape, which makes robot vision tracking easier. Robots start anywhere on their side of the field, but not in the landfill zone or auto zone. During the 15-second autonomous period at the start of each match, robots use pre-programmed instructions to try to move themselves, yellow totes, and recycling containers into the auto zone. Bonus points are awarded for stacking the yellow totes. Additionally, robots may begin acquiring gray totes and recycling containers from the landfill or the step. As the teleoperated period starts, drivers step forward to take the controls. Alliances earn points by stacking totes on their platforms. Each gray tote is worth 2 points. Teams may obtain gray totes from either the landfill, the step, or from a human player via the tote chute. Recycling containers on top of scored totes are worth 4 points per level. Robots may obtain litter from the human player via the litter chute. Litter in a scored recycling container is worth 6 points. Litter in the landfill is worth 1 point. Alliances may attempt to throw litter onto the opposing alliance's side of the field until there are 20 seconds left in the match. Litter not in scoring position on the field at the end of a match is considered unprocessed litter, and each piece will add 4 points to the score of the opposing alliance. Alliances may work together to earn a 20-point cooperation bonus by placing 4 yellow totes on the step. Stacking these 4 totes earns an additional 20-point bonus for each alliance. To rank well during qualification matches and advance through the playoff matches to the finals, teams will want to maximize their score for each match. Except for the final matches, winners of individual matches will not be declared, as this has no direct bearing on tournament performance in Recycle Rush. Of course, robots will need to be built robustly to avoid damage from falling game pieces.
That was a great match. We can't wait to see your creative strategies. Have fun with Recycle Rush and good...
So that was the objective. Stack 2 foot by 1 foot crates and take a Rubbermaid garbage can, put it on top with pool noodle inside. 6 totes was the max height with a can and a noodle. That is a max stack of 42 points. That robot right there that we built this year will do 2 of that exact stack in 1 match. You put that together with 2 other robots that'll do the same, and now you've got a 200-point match, which are very uncommon in qualifying, and then you get into playoffs when that happens, and now you're moving on throughout the playoff matches. So if the driver Joe Neestad actually drives the chassis, human player Nick Mathis, our controls operator Andy Caprucio, who is the controls captain, couldn't make it tonight, but he's the one who programmed the robot along with teaching the other new kids that wanted to learn the program, and he was the one who operated the actual mechanism as far as that goes. If anybody would like to see it, Joey, you want to? Yeah, I get it. If you, I mean, you guys can go over there and help them.
Okay, let's go. Because
So the way we built this year's robot, there were many different kinds of robots, of course. There were many robots that were forklift designs that would pick one up and stack it on top of another. Our robot is called a conveyor robot. It holds multiple totes on individual lifters, and the robot is actually automated. It has automated sensors in it that detect the tote is in the robot. So when it sucks the tote in, it automatically knows the tote's in and automatically lifts the tote to the next level. So, put it on top. The first one we pick up has to be a double to get a max 6 stack, because we only had room for 5 lifters because of the height restraint. Your robot cannot be taller than 78 inches. And then that is the team-built scoring platform. So it scored the totes, and now it has to go get a can. Nope, you got to go home. You got to send the robot back to its home position. Now we call it home. That's pre-programmed. There's a potentiometer which knows different values on the conveyor system. Home is when it's all the way down. And other than that, it knows its set values along the way where to stop the tote when it lifts it. So the human actually doesn't control the lifting of the totes. He controls the set down of the totes and the can pickup. Right now, Mr. Potts is enacting as the human player. He put the noodle in, and now they're going to score the can. Nope. Now double that, and you get a 2-minute match. If Mr. Walmsley would bring up this is, at states they had 16 individual alliances instead of the normal 8 at a district event, because there were 102 that attended states. We were picked by the number 4 alliance, which is Team 33 from Auburn Hills, and then they picked another team, and we were their second pick. This is a video of our second Octo Finals match, which we put 212 points up. We are the
Ooh, baby! Off we go as these robots collide in a battle of points and scoring. We've got 33 with their RC sliding in that auto zone as these drivers take control. The green engineers drop a deuce on that scoring deck. Meanwhile on the red, looks like 33's going to be picking
taken from that center step. NC Gears getting to stacking. While 33 with their looped forklift does a great job picking up and shutting it down. 245 the Atom Bots. They've got a quad while their partner, the Petoskey Paladins, 3618, looks like they've got a quintet ready to roll. 3552 that prefers doing things in twos. They've got 2 triples. And this 33 bot ramping up to the scoring deck. They ease it forward. And as they hold their breath, they pull the latch. Will it stick? They bail out. It's good. On the blue, we got 245 getting capped off on that quintet, while 3618, the Paladins, successfully drop a 5-lit. 33 grabbing a can from that center step, while 1918 goes back for more at that red alliance shoot door. We've got close to 45 seconds left in this match. 245s sucking them in. Their human player emulating their robot. And 33 with a towering stack. They've got 6 and they're ready to roll. They're easing back, trying to put up 4. Could NC Gears make it 5? They're rolling. With 20 seconds left, NC Gears ease towards that scoring platform. They open it up and they disengage. 33 laying waste to a noodle. While on this blue side, 245's doing anything they can with 5 seconds left. 3, 2, 1, 0.
That was a huge match for us. Actually, one of the best matches we've had all season. We went on to move on out of the Octo Finals after our 2 matches of having an average of 212 points after 2 matches. Moved on to the quarterfinals and played 2 more matches. However, 1918, the NC Gears, which was our 3rd robot on the Alliance, had some mechanical issues, and we didn't have the scores to move on. At Worlds, we got picked by the 8th Alliance, as he had mentioned. It was incredible because the 8th Alliance captain, because we were picked as the alternative robot, which is what they call the backup robot for the Alliance after they picked their 3 that were the primaries. The Alliance captain determined that our robot was more reliable than theirs was at the time and decided that they would become the backup robot and we would play in their place. So we got to play both of the matches.
Okay, well, since Emma doesn't want to talk about it, at States, Emma had a huge accomplishment in safety. She got #1 pit, or we got the #1 safest pit, and it was really cool because we were all worried about that, or we were really worried because our safety presentations always seem to have really bad luck. We ran a kid over with the robot for our very first one. It wasn't like he's fine, he's over there, he's totally okay. It just nicked him, but we weren't having the best of luck. We dropped the binder, everything. We were just really worried about it, and she was so afraid she wasn't going to get it because there's so many teams there. There were 101 or 2, and we got it out of all those teams. I was going to say, and then our robot got 2 awards this year. We got.
At our first district, we won the creativity award for the mechanism and the way it's automated. At our second event, we won the innovation and control award, again for the mechanism and the way that it's automated. At States, the awards that they give out, they also give out a judges award. The judges award emulates a team that is deserving of being recognized by the judges, but doesn't fit fully into an existing category. They could go into any existing category, but they decided that they wanted to give them a special award known as the Judges Award. So we got that at States against 101 other robots and teams. One of the impressive feats that we accomplished this year as a team is most teams run on $100,000 budgets, and they have CNC machines and 3D printers, and we just work out of a pole barn with a saw and a drill press. And the way we've been operating for the past 4 years and been able to accomplish everything we've had, we've been to states actually all 4 years. Our first year was to present for an award, which we won, which qualified us for Worlds. Our second season, our robot qualified for states. Our third year, we qualified to present for another award. So the robot didn't go, but our team got to present. And then this year, the robot qualified, and then and this is the first time our robot's actually ever qualified on its own to make Worlds. Out of states, we were the 30th qualifier in Michigan to make Worlds. Basically, there were 360 teams this year in Michigan, and we finished basically 30th in the state. So then we went to Worlds and had our amazing accomplishment of 33rd. Want to say something? Yeah, you're fine. Don't mind him.
You're gonna trip or something.
Yeah.
No, I'm not gonna trip. Back to what Brandon said about the Worlds. It's definitely a big accomplishment. What they do is you get then separated into 75 to 76 teams in each division. And after qualifying, we ended up being the 33rd seed, as Mr. Berkmeyer said. I just want to say thank you for allowing us to go and allowing us to be able to have this robotics team. I mean, it definitely means a lot to all of our lives, and it means a lot to us, so thank you again for that.
And I would like to thank the robotics team for showing the Richmond spirit and ingenuity we have here. And it's just another one of the great things in our True Blue moment that we'd really like to spotlight. So thank you, team, and congratulations on your accomplishments this year.
Thank you, guys.
Absolutely. And kudos to all the parents and the volunteers, the people that help them all year long get to this point, too. We thank you for that. Great job.
I
just
need
love
one of
the
them
fact
for
that
my laundry baskets at home.
Huh? Do it one more time, and then you're good. I love the fact that that thing doesn't tip over on top there.
I wanted to be able to throw the noodle.
There you go.
There
Go
we
throw
go.
the noodle.
Another thing that I actually forgot to mention.
You're good.
This year did a TV show. The TV show is called RoboZone. One of the teams started the show. It follows all the Michigan teams throughout the divisions
Really?
and states. Actually, the team that started it was 33, the team that picked us in states. We got our drive team and our second district got featured. They were the beginning of it, where they actually say, we're Team 4130 from Richmond, Michigan, and this is RoboZone, and that was on National Public TV.
Very cool.
And the robot got shown from that event. Our robot was also on the Michigan State Championship episode. And then Detroit Public Television always does a coverage of the state championship. And as the announcers were talking about us, because they haven't released it on TV yet, they're still editing it, but they've released it on YouTube when we were watching some of the footage. And one of the announcers called us an up-and-coming powerhouse team.
Really?
In first, a powerhouse team is a team that is so good that they're pretty much the elite.
So what's interesting was though is
Okay.
the interesting part of it was one of the announcers was part of a team that won a world championship last year.
Oh, really?
So yeah, Los Gorillas.
Okay. So he knows what he's talking about, is what you're trying to say. Got it. Got it.
It was very, it meant a lot to get recognized for big teams throughout the season, them picking us and them, recognizing us as a good team. It was interesting because normally we're in all over their stuff, and now they're in all over our stuff. So
Very good.
it was a great time.
Very good.
Did I qualify? Well, I had half the room.
Yeah.
All right,
there we
all
go.
right, all right, all right. That's why he's on the team.
That's still pretty short.
There we go.
Important fact about the first robotics program, the World Championship is currently held in St. Louis. It's going to be splitting into 2 World Championships, one in Houston and one in St. Louis, only for a 1-year period. And in 2018, it's coming to Detroit.
Really? Oh, wow. Very cool. One more time, show us.
Seriously, could use one of those.
It'll hold it 3 on one lifter. It's just not.
Those Christmas tubs.
This green one, this black one, and this black one are not legal totes. Legal
Oh.
totes are a little bit shorter than old totes. Actually, how you get the totes is through the kit of parts every year. The kit of parts actually come in these totes.
Okay.
So that's actually how you get the crates. Good. Back up a little. It's a little touchy.
Back up.
You can tell he's new and not the actual driver.
Who's the one actually putting on the stack right?
Yeah. It's not gonna fall.
Excellent. Thank you guys very much. Yes, congratulations. Good job. Well, I'm sorry that you have to follow up with that, Mr. Walmsley, with the legislative update, but
Well, things are moving in Lansing, good and bad, depending on your perspective. I encourage the community. I've been posting some things on our Facebook page as I become aware of them, and one of them is the how the legislators are going to fix the Detroit Public Schools deficit. And one of the options they're looking at is through the school aid fund. So I'm encouraging parents to contact their legislators to let them know their perspective and what they feel about that. Just a couple things. The Senate Appropriations met last week and actually has voted out of committee. Their budget was mostly resembled Governor Schneider's budget. The most recent changes to the budget ensures that no district would receive less funding than they did last year. So at a minimum, it would be flat for us. It provides more flexibility with local and state assessments to qualify which students qualify for at-risk funding. And it also allows eligibility for K-3 charters to get increased at-risk funding. So if it's a school as a K-3 charter. The House Appropriations Committee voted, and theirs is on its way. They removed $5 million reimbursement to private schools for state mandated costs. They added a $100 per child placeholder for STEM grants and restored the $2 million to the general fund for the Michigan College Access Network. Teacher and administrator evaluation is moving. Senate Bill 103 they'll be discussing this tomorrow at noon regarding lowering the percentage of student growth that's required for in the evaluation. The big one's going to be in about 8 days, the election, the Proposal 1 election, and what it does for the state of Michigan as well as school districts across the state. I've taken the liberty to begin meeting with various groups throughout the organization here to talk about how does this affect Richmond.
I was at Lee Elementary School, the middle school. I had to cancel the high school meeting, but I was with the transportation group, and just talking about, you know, the proposal for school districts protects the school aid fund from the universities and others being able to utilize it. It locks in K-12 and community colleges as the only source for school aid fund. The proposal would generate about $300 million to the school aid fund. I would feel much more confident if we had assurance that that money would be given to the local school district, but there is a $300 million that's expected to go to the school aid fund. So I just encourage voters to get out and vote next Tuesday. That's it.
Thank you. Next, items of interest from members of the board. Anyone? Tracy? Nope.
I just have thank yous to say about the foundation event that happened on the 17th. A thank you to everyone who attended. Thank you to the visual arts educators, to the music educators, to the theater educator who participated and so willingly had students participate and help us with that. To the over 150 pieces of artwork that were donated by students, thank you so much. Many, most were auctioned off, and those that didn't get auctioned off are actually becoming a great art display at the Board of Education office, and you can see them there. Arts and scraps and the beautiful crowns and tiaras that kids could and adults could make and create and take home was awesome. It was just a great evening, and the foundation we're not quite sure yet financially the goodness that it brought to us, but it did bring us goodness in so many ways. So we're hopeful for next year to have an Enrichment 2016 and make it happen again. So it's very great. Good event. Second thing, last week was National Library Week. And librarians and folks who work in libraries are sometimes forgotten people. Or we forget to say thank you to those folks. And we're lucky in this district that we have libraries where kids go and can go. And we have a community that has a library. That's a luxury. Not every school district has that, and not every town and city has that. And so I just wanted to say thanks, that we support that as a community, but then thanks to those people who run our libraries and help everybody understand the importance of books.
I was able to attend the foundation event. I think, those of you that are involved in organizing, I think you guys have something there. I think you got something good. I had a lot of fun. I was able to participate with the magician on stage and all that fun stuff. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
But I think you guys are onto something there. You could be a very good fundraiser for you.
We're hoping.
Yep. We have our fingers crossed. I wanted to just acknowledge last week was also Secretary's Week, and for those out in the viewing audience, need to understand we have someone who sits here at our table with us a month after month, and it's Terry Tomeko. While she is the superintendent secretary, she is also the secretary to the Board of Education and does a tremendous job for us, keeps us in line to where we know exactly what we're doing every month. Our agendas are ready for us. She is very, very kind, even when I call her multiple times in a day asking for things related to Board of Education. And we always forget to publicly acknowledge those that do great things for us. So on behalf of the board, I just want to acknowledge Terry, and we're very lucky to have her here, Richmond School. So thank you, Terry, for all you do. You're welcome. And I know she hated every minute of that, but she deserves it. Anyone else?
I have one thing. In front of you have a card. Bridget, would you mind opening that up? This card, yes, it is, if you open it up, this will be given to all new families who move into the Richmond community. I'm now working to extend that to the Lenox, Richmond Township, Casco, and Columbus Township. As you know, several weeks ago, we started tours on Tuesdays at 10. We've gotten there's a link down on the website that as people fill it out, we give them a tour of the building, invite them to lunch. I've worked with the school store so that when they're done, we sign off and they can go to the school store and get a Richmond t-shirt for welcoming them to Richmond. So,
Great idea.
the city of Richmond puts together a welcome package for every new family that moves in. That will be part of that welcome package.
Excellent.
Great idea.
Excellent, finally. It's really a cool card. Thank you, Brian, that's excellent. Okay, next, our bond update.
We are, I do not have any update on the Univent system. I know they are meeting. We have a scheduled meeting next week with the contractors involved, Hendrick, Dickerson, French's, and then Troon Law Firm will also be at that meeting to discuss where we are in the process. You may have seen a gentleman out working on the screens and doing the outside masonry work. So I will update you on that as soon as I know more. We're on the punch list. They were out finishing the track. They had to do some pole replacements on the new fence, which has been done because I wasn't satisfied with the poles and so forth. We are looking at the concrete that's been installed, so they're going to be working on that stuff too. They're doing a lot of punch list stuff, so I'm just going through and working them to get the projects finished. And the next major project we'll have will be the one-to-one technology that will be coming at a future board meeting. So.
Okay. Anyone have
Any time frame on the final grade for the science edition?
They want to fit the cement that was installed on the walkway is cracked, so they have to replace the cement, and so they want to get all that replaced before they do the final grade. So I'm hoping, they thought in with the next 2 weeks they should be able to get that cement poured, but I don't know. I don't have a date for cement, so we're trying to close up shop. I am being very nitpicking. I hope that's, I don't think that's been a problem with everything we've gone through, but there's a lot of stuff that is on my list that may not be on their list, so that's part of the reason why we're meeting next week. So.
Very good. As it should be, exactly.
All right.
Okay, thank you. Next, starting our process of our budget for next year.
I wanted to take time to make sure we're all up to speed on where we are with the budget process, and then begin talking about some of the assumptions that we're going to have to make, because depending on when the state actually approves the budget, as you know, sitting on the board, or if you're new to the board, we have to make some assumptions, and usually those get washed out once the state finally does their budget. The next two meetings in May, I'll be continue bringing the pieces of the budget so we can have a discussion on where I'm recommending some overall programs to make sure that we're protecting. But I wanted to begin by just talking about an overview and really talk about when I was hired into the position, one of the things that I talked about was a multi-tiered system of support. And when I launched my 90-day plan and the restructure of my administrative team, I focused on, if you picture a triangle, half of the triangle focused on academics, half focused on behavioral support services for kids. And with the administrative teams at each building, I was trying to create that support network. And as we begin having to make some difficult decisions in the budget, we need to make sure what is our focus and what are we going to really put our energy on, because you can't be everything to everyone anymore. The way the state has really cut our funding and tied your hands as a board, we're very limited. So I use this graphic, usually it's a triangle, but I like a target, because I really want to be laser focused on what we're looking at. When I talk about, you see that large blue, when I'm talking multi-tiered systems of support, that's primarily at the classroom level. That's the instructional strategies that a teacher uses to address all the needs in their classrooms, whether it's instruction or behaviors. Kids act up. Kids make poor choices. That's the nature of being a kid. And so as a teacher, you maneuver through that on a day-to-day basis. But we have certain students, whether at the struggling with the content or at the accelerated end, that we need to start providing some additional support services. And that's where that 15, that white dot, starts coming in. So if I have a student that is struggling, that might be interventions that we're putting in place through Title I or the AARI class at the middle school and so forth. And at the high school, the counselors are teaching a course, AAR, corrective reading, AARI is middle school, thank you. Sometimes that's not enough, and that's where that really lasered focus on how do we help kids, whether it's at they're struggling with the content or those kids that are at the gifted and talented, what do we provide for them? And when you look at these numbers, you know, the research shows that 80%, 15%, and 5% fall into that. When we look at I've often referenced the game we have to play with the state, the bottom 30% that we have to address so we don't create a subgroup, that's in that red and blue or red and white area that we're focusing on. What I want to just do is take a minute. In your packet I gave you, I brought this today, a copy of the budget amendment that Vicki provided us in February. And I wanted, it looks like this, okay. My intent is not to go through the whole thing, though if there are questions I'd be more than happy to answer them. But really talk about the programs and our focus. So if you consider that blue dot, that's really our basic instruction. When you look at our function codes and we're looking at this budget, that's function 1.1, basic programs 110, which falls under elementary staffing, middle school staffing, high school staffing, preschool programs fall under function 118. So as you're looking at the budget here in front of you, you'll see those categories corresponding. This is where primarily most of our budget lies when we start budgeting. There's a function 120 added needs, which includes special education. So as you turn the page on that budget, you'll see special education, Title I, vocational education. As you look into, as you keep going through, you'll see guidance and counseling. You'll see speech and special education services, TC, social worker. Those are all basic programs that we have to provide legally, as well as, depending on the caseload of those individuals, could be used in that white dot as we begin narrowing focus to provide additional services. So for instance, right now there's a social worker that's 3 days a week at Lee Elementary School. If that social worker has a certain caseload they see, if that caseload gets too large, then they aren't able to see and be proactive in dealing with students and other issues, because they have to meet their first obligation for special education. So as we're beginning to look at staffing and budgetary decision, this is where our first conversation needs to be with what's our classroom size going to be? What's the number of teachers going to be per student? Looking at what are we required to have for special education and what do we need, knowing the needs of our building, that we need to have in addition to. We don't have adult and continuing education learning, but that falls under basic needs. The next step, if you envision that circle again, or that ring, it's the next outer ring, it's all the support services. And before you are all the function codes that are possible that we utilize. For instance, you'll see guidance and counseling in there. You'll see psychological services, you'll see social work, etc. You'll see improvement of instruction, which would be staff development. A lot of our Title II funds and Title I funds go through there. You'll see media services, as you said, Mrs. Bartels, about our media specialists that we have. That's a support system that we provide our students in our community. And as you keep growing out, you see the general administration, which is the Board of Education, which is the superintendent's office. There's a possibility in that same category, though we don't have it, a grant writer, or grant procurement could be identified there. When you look at support services for school administration, that's talking about the principal, the secretaries in those buildings, the office supplies that go along to that. So I'm kind of painting the picture here for the reason of I'm starting with the classroom in mind. And as we're going to go through tonight and in the future, we're going to have to make some decisions on how we're going to protect that classroom. Because if our class sizes get too high, we're shooting ourselves in the foot, excuse the expression, because our achievement is not going to be there. But we know we have support systems that we need to have in place to support the classroom teacher. As you keep going, one of the things that this board has been faced with in the past several years was the privatization. It was I see it forced upon you to make that decision based on the dollars that were given to you. There will be a presentation in the near future about our custodial services. The contract is up, and building and operation. So as I'm beginning building the draft budget that I want to discuss with you at the next meeting and the following meeting, I'm looking at how do we maximize our services we currently have. You're going to see in this support services non-instructional technology services. One of the recommendations that I'm going to be is how do we increase our IT department having 1,300 brand new laptops. If you analogy a balloon, we're in essence squeezing the balloon. If we're going to take it from one spot, we're putting it in another spot. Reallocation of resources. Today we had our district school improvement team, and one of the challenges that I gave them was it's not about adding more to people's jobs or necessarily cutting it. It's about rethinking how we operate in those roles. Because that role may have been established many years ago, and though we may like to keep it, and I realize there's a spelling error in there, so I apologize, the car of children. But the role needs to change to evolve with the resources we have, with the times that we live in, and most importantly, the population we service. I want to talk to you about one of the assumptions we're making, and we start looking at enrollment projections. This number that I have here, you'll see October 2012, October 2013, October 2014. Those are our final FTE counts that we get dollars per child on. You can see at Lee Elementary School over the last 3 years, 12, 13, and 14, we've been on a population decline. That's consistent with Macomb County in terms of many districts have seen a population decline because of the economy, people moving out. If I simply move the current kindergartners up a grade and follow that process, and I make an assumption based on our kindergarten enrollment that we're going to have at least 3 sections of kindergarten at 72, you'll see next year's projected FTE at Lee Elementary School is down in terms of the total number of students at Lee. If I follow that same process, and one of the goals I have is focusing really on customer services and meeting the needs of our families to keep them here because we have a great product to offer them. When I look at the middle school and you begin moving, there's a significant decrease in the 5th grade numbers next year. So if you move those up, and now you're starting getting into points because we have some students that are on a shortened day or a shared program with another district. The middle school count is actually declining too on an FTE number. Again, I took the 109 in current 6th grade and just moved that up to 7th grade. When you look at high school, there is a decline there. Again, this is FTEs. One of the balancing acts we have to have to do is an FTE is what you get your dollars on. You take that number times whatever the state gives us per child, and that's how much money we have from the state. But those point positions, it's still a full-time body that I have in the school that I have to put somewhere, I have to serve, they have a seat, they have a desk, etc. So the balancing act is, though it may say 552 FTEs, that may be 560, that may be 565 people-wise when we're going through it. The next slide gives you a projection of enrollment for next year, and it's projecting to be about 93 students down next year. Again, making the assumption we're moving kids up a grade level. This is our starting point when we start making budgetary decisions and begin having the conversation, because we need to know about how much money we're going to have. Several years ago, St. Pete's we stopped providing services to them. Recently, St. Augustine's sent us a letter that they do not want art, music, or PE with them anymore. I have a request in to find out more specifically why. I reported to the newsletter some speculations why, but I don't know that for certain. So if we're looking at an FTE number, a projection about 1430 for next school year is roughly where we're estimating to be at an enrollment number. Any questions at this point? I put the bullseye up here again because we have to, when we're starting to, because each one of these categories I'm going to be bringing to you and say, here's what I'm recommending, how we make budget adjustments in those categories to get in alignment with this projected budget that we're going to have for next year. So when we look at that large circle, which is really the center of our business, our focus, that basic instruction, if we're down students, I would expect to be having less FTEs in a teacher perspective. As we look at the support services, which is that next outer ring, one of the things, like I said, that we're looking at is like operations and maintenance. We're looking at the contracts that the custodial bid packages that came through and seeing is there a better bang for our buck from what they have to offer. I will be bringing at that time the cost analysis that was requested regarding if I take all the same number, they were Richmond employees, and then based on this rate, retirement, FICA, and so forth. I can tell you the preliminary numbers that I ran, I had not run them through the business office. It is more money for us to have our own in-house group. Just because of the difference between what we pay in a service fee and the retirement rate that we have that the state charges. And then when you get down to that community services, which is really that red area, which is when you look at the categories, you're talking with latchkey and our facility use and how we operate to the community. Because that's going to have to, I think we're going to have a serious conversation on that to make sure we aren't overextending ourselves, to make sure that with a reduced budget, we can manage quality programs that are going to attract students to Richmond. Do I think that enrollment's going to turn around? I know it's going to turn around. I think the economy's starting to turn around. I'll be honest, I've been looking for houses, and my wife and I finally actually get to look, it's sold. So the housing market's turning around. It's convincing people that Richmond has a quality product that meets their needs for their child. And so, welcoming cards, getting tours on them. We have up to date 5 families that we've given tours to. And of those 5, 3 have committed to come for next year. I haven't heard from the other 2 yet. Not sure if we scheduled the one, not yet, for tomorrow. But we had 2 more that came in. Okay. So we're starting to make strides and getting the name out there and what quality programs we have. So as we begin the process next budget meeting, when I bring this back to you with each of the categories and we start talking about the subcategories and how many teachers are we looking at, what would be the class size that we're looking at, we've got to stay focused on the big picture as a unified group and what's in the best interest, because it's going to be some hard decisions we're going to have to make. All of our contracts are up this June, so I'll be entering. I've got all the dates are already in line for negotiations. Several of the groups have really began some initial conversations on being very creative on saving us money. Kind of a, not necessarily a wash, but if they can get this, I give them this, I can get a better savings here, which will overall help the organization. And that's where we are. I think this is the start. We're off and running at this point. So
am I to understand then, the next meeting, it will be start of detail of what you're talking about.
Exactly. We're going to start the details, the actual, when you look at this category, we start looking at, we're going to start with, we've got to make some assumptions that we know at this point, knowing that assumptions may change, to see what is our dollar amount. We need to start looking at, just look at the basic programs. When I look at elementary school and I see the the numbers decline, what does that look like? You know, is there split classrooms? I don't know. Those are the pieces that we're going to start looking FTE-wise, that if Lee, and off the top of my head, has 18 FTEs, that may go down to 17. So I gain an FTE there. I know with St. A's not participating in the with us, that's a 1.5 FTE savings there because we reduced just not providing that services. When we did the initial ballpark cost of what it costs for a teacher, we did an average teacher cost times 1.5, and what we brought in for St. A's, it was pretty much a wash. So it's not a, and several of those teachers were on the higher end of the scale, so we just did an average teacher salary. So that's going to be the next phase, is to start, let's start with the basic program, because that's going to be the heart of our discussion. That's special ed, that's counselors, that's classroom teachers, et cetera. And to begin painting the picture of that blue circle.
Okay.
And
Because this, I mean, I was on the board a long time ago, too. This has never been any kind of conversation with respect to budget and what you're talking about, and I think it's going to help us to understand what we're doing. But, so what you're saying is you're going to come to us with a idea/presentation of saying, okay, this is what our classroom needs to look like, what we need, because our function is to educate.
Correct.
So
We're gonna start in that
starting
center.
at the ground zero, if you will. That's what we're going to do, to start with that and then to build out from there. That's what the circles, that's what you're talking about.
That blue is going to be, I'm focusing on the blue circle at our next meeting.
Okay.
Because that is the largest pot of the money, if you will, or the budget, I should say.
Okay.
The red and the white, which are your support services, though it has a large chunk, this is really what we're all about, is that blue circle.
Okay.
So what I started creating is literally function 111. It lists every, I have it by staff member, salary, so look at, okay, at Lee, I need to staff that building 17 FTEs. And if I do that, the average class size is going to be
This much.
this much.
Okay.
And if we're comfortable with that average class size being that number, then I place that as a placeholder in the budget, and I just begin deducting from what our revenue is and the dollar amounts.
Okay, but then when you're talking about being comfortable with the classroom size number, obviously, that's nothing that I have any
I'm going
expertise
to
on.
recommend it where I think it needs to be,
Okay.
based on what we're trying to do.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of variables here that we need to take in consideration. You know, we have a one-to-one laptop technology and the space and utilizing that effectively. Because if I put a classroom of, I don't know, 36 kids in a classroom with the technology, it's not going to get used. I mean, I hate to say it, no matter what creative teacher's out there, it's going to be a struggle for them to use it effectively. And so when we start looking at, okay, let's look at our scores. If we have a particular grade level, and I can tell you, there are some grade levels that they're not performing where we want them to be, you know, maybe we need to focus that to be a little lower class size so we can get those scores up. Because if we don't, what it's going to do is create the domino effect for courses we have to run at the high school and middle school, which are repeating courses. I failed Algebra 1, now I got to retake Algebra 1. It's going to create more support services in that outer ring that is going to take away from that classroom. So I'm going to bring to you the beginning recommendation. My goal is on the 11th of May to focus on the blue dot, if you will.
Okay.
Have conversations about that and where I would recommend as a board. I'm not asking you to vote on it that night.
Right.
So then the next one, bring the next piece. And then the first meeting in June, let's put it all together and have the final discussion. And through it gives us 4 weeks to have, if you've got questions for me, you can send them to me. I will get them to the response and get to the board. Other questions you may have. But where I need to start really finalize right now for you at the next board meeting is the assumptions we're going to make. What's our revenue based on what we know to date?
Okay.
You know, if I think the Senate bill goes through, whatever we got this year, we can probably project that there's no increase. But I can tell you our costs have gone up.
Right.
I mean, heating and cooling went up. If they, so.
So with the idea of focusing on the fact that the blue's what's important, and the blue is what we're here for. As a board, for a budget, is focusing on the education, what we provide to the students. That's what we're here. Okay.
And then, so Brian, you said that you will bring a recommendation about class size. It always feels like there's
It's a balancing act, really, budgeting, and so, what if we say, we only want 15 kids in every kindergarten classroom? And so what does that do, you know what I'm saying? What does that do?
Okay, I'll have to go back to work on that, but there's
But-
gonna have to be some major not doing on something else or.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, so to have that conversation, to say, maybe that's a statement we want to make, because.
Well, and is it a question then, when you start to talk about that, if the number is 21, let's just say, and conversation turns at the table that it could be less, will there be something there, are you going to give us different scenarios, I guess? Because if the question comes up, that kind of sets everything
All right,
crazy, if you
can I
will.
back up here? Because maybe, all right, this is the way I'm used to doing the budget, is when I would present the instructional budget to the board, I'd present, here were several scenarios we looked at.
Okay.
I was dealing with a little different scope, but here's if we want to maximize the contract language, here's what we could do. But here's the pluses and minuses by doing that. Here's the best case scenario, but here's the plus and minus. And then somewhere in between is what I would recommend to the board, saying,
Nice.
okay, here's the number, this is what an average kindergarten class size would look like, this is what first grade. This may be a recommendation, and I'm not saying this, but because this, to have a 2-3 classroom. And I don't know if Richmond has ever had a split classroom. Okay, so that may be one to maximize our numbers. Because I know I have 4 first grades moving to second grade. I only need 3 first grades next year because I only have 3 sections. So one of those staff members is either going to be removed out of the building and placed based on the contract language and placement, or a layoff. Because we have a 1.5 that I would be recommending to the board in a teacher reduction right off the bat if St. A's does not join us. If they continue to take the position they have, then we have a 1.5 reduction in FTEs. What that looks like, it's going to be part of the scheduling process. I've met with the high school. We went through literally every course that they are running. We looked at what courses combined, what courses, well, we need to move 5 students out because we're over, which is going to create an expense, but we can put them into a different elective. So we've gone through that. When you look at the middle school, they're used to having 4 teachers for 5th grade. The numbers do not warrant 4 teachers in 5th grade. What that potentially could do is we could shut down a wing of the middle school by consolidating classroom because we have smaller enrollment, less costs for cleaning, there's less expenses for running heating and cooling and lighting because we can maximize the rest of the building and leave one section. So those are the things that I'm bringing at the next time.
Well, and I think you answered what my question just by saying you were going to have different scenarios. Because that's what I was looking at, that, okay, whatever you're saying, there's going to be different choices, if you will, or different ways to do it. That's what I was asking.
What I'm going to bring to you is when we start looking at the class size, here are options. We could strictly go by contract, which is what we're legally required to do. The contract size is large. I would not recommend that size to have any impact on. Now, we may get a point where there may be classes that are going to have to follow that contract language because we don't have a choice. But if we can figure out a way to be creative and protect that classroom, that's our best chance to have any success and to make a dent in achievement in the district, is at that classroom level.
was just gonna say, I think you've covered most of this, but at least I'll be looking for the logic behind the assumptions. So we gotta make sure that that's solid.
Right.
We're talking about right sizing and stretch goals. Within those FTEs, can we stretch, you gotta be a sweet spot in there where we can, wiggle either way without sacrificing stability, because we need stability going forward.
Well, absolutely. And there's going to be programs, I know this was a conversation we had, Jeff, but I don't know if it was this board or if it was really, about what does that program cost us? At the elementary level, it doesn't cost you much to run an elementary school. It costs you a lot to run a high school. And so there are going to be programs that I'm going to recommend that we maintain, but at a certain level of enrollment, to maintain the programs we offer kids. Because as soon as you start cutting those programs or removing them, the options go away and parents begin looking. And I believe that I can bring you a budget that will maintain options for kids in a successful manner. So part of this part is I was trying to get from the board what you're looking for, and staying focused in that classroom as our first target, our first round is going through. Because we're going to have to adjust throughout the whole the process. We were, if you look at the budget that was presented in February, we had we're still using fund balance, but we were using less of it. So we're going to have to decide what's that happy medium. Because for me to bring you a budget, it's going to be to be a balanced budget without using some fund balance. There might be we have to make some devastating cuts I don't think we necessarily want to strategically do. We'll also have
We're potentially crunched too, because, isn't there legislation out there that says we have to
have a certain percentage of fund balance left,
part of the-
potentially, that's part
It
of,
hasn't passed yet, but that early warning system.
right?
it's some of the
5% or
character- yeah, the
something like
categories
that.
they are looking at.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess as you begin thinking about this, if there's specifics that you're looking for, I'm going to be bringing you each category. I'm going to start with basic 1-11. Let's look at elementary school. This is what that looks like. This is what I'm recommending. This is what we could do. This is what I'm recommending.
Okay.
But we are going to have to really look at how we utilize our facilities, how we utilize the resources we have to make sure that they're going to last. Until we get back on the upswing.
Yep, exactly. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Anybody have any other questions? Okay, thank you. Next is our portion of the meeting, which is public comment. Is there anyone that would like to come forward? Okay. Next, resolution for the MISD budget. Brian?
Several weeks ago, and it is in your board packet, you received a blue book that looks like this, operating budget. Tracy had the distinct pleasure of attending the budget meeting, so I will turn it over to you to talk about.
I did have the pleasure of going, and
This is the second time that I've had the chance to go to this meeting, and I want to recommend it to any and all of you to take the opportunity to go to this meeting, because you learn a lot, and you are once again, I left, we use that phrase, no child left behind. Maybe it's an old phrase at this point now, but we use that phrase and have used that phrase often in reference to public education. And when you go to an ISD meeting that's about budget and you have the opportunity to hear the experts at that level discuss and talk about what the ISD does for all of the school districts, this from 8 Mile Road to 32 Mile Road, that's their chunk of space. You hear that phrase in action like no other. Living it, no child left behind. There were some demographics about Macomb County that were very interesting for me to learn, and then the effect it has on all of the county and educating children. There are 1,300 homeless school-age children in Macomb County. There was 1.5 million pounds of food given out to families in need in Macomb County this last year. The median household income in Macomb County has decreased 26% since 1999. There are 134,000 children enrolled in schools in the county, and that is a significant decrease. There are over 100 languages spoken by school-age children in the county, and the county average has an average of 45% of children who get free and reduced lunch rate. That demographics has changed significantly in the last number of years, but it also has a significant impact on education. Beth Alberti, Superintendent of Special Education, and Judy Pritchett, Assistant Superintendent of Instruction and Assistant Superintendent of Technology, Mark Cummins, and the Chief Financial Officer, Paul Bodilla, all gave presentations at this meeting. Macomb County is right at the state average. 13% of the students in the county qualify for special education services. Learning disabled is the largest portion, and there's the most in that category, and they're typically serviced in general education classrooms. The cases of students who are on the autism spectrum has increased 72% in the last 4 years. That was a staggering statistic to hear, 72% increase. Did you know that the ISD has an assessment center for children 0 to 3 years of age? They see 1,500 to 2,000 children in a year so that parents can have access to detecting delays in development early on, which makes a huge impact in those children's lives later on. Did you know that the ISD has a program called STEP that offers a transitional post-secondary experience for children with special needs? It's community college, essentially. Allows for those students to become workers out in the workforce in a really great way with lots of independent skills. The ISD offers a lending program with assistive technologies to local school districts for students who need devices, extra devices for learning. That can be anything from some little rubber piece that attaches to a pencil that helps a child hold a pencil so they can write, all the way to a $25,000 piece of equipment that allows a child who can't communicate in the way that I can communicate, but they can blink their eyes, and that turns into communication for them. And the ISD has that equipment and lends it out to local school districts for that to happen. Physical therapy, occupational therapy. Those students are visually impaired or hearing impaired. The ISD is the resource for that to happen. Bringing and helping all of us at the local level about how to use EpiPens, how to have EpiPens on site, and how to handle that for students who have allergies. The ISD is our help with that. The ISD is the home site, home where our staff got their training for the Atlas curriculum mapping that we're using, the NWEA testing training that happens. They are helping us quickly retrieve those scores and then helping our teachers make the necessary changes in instruction, classroom instruction that works, that professional development, with reimbursements to the local school districts for the substitute teachers so that the teachers can be at the ISD and do what they need to do with that. The ISD covers that. Our ability to have the Great Start Readiness preschool program is through the ISD. This important, so important jump start for young students has grown tremendously. There were 900 seats in 2012. They're expecting for 3,200 seats to be available in the fall of 2015. That's a school district. Double the size of us, right, that the ISD runs. Testing, getting ready for the SAT for next year, all of those kinds of things, the ISD is helping us out, taking care of it. We are not in the situation of having a priority or a focus school, thank heavens, but they are the people who go into those schools and have daily, weekly, monthly work with the school leadership, with the staff. They go to the Michigan Department of Education with those schools. They are on top of it. Power School, Blackboard, Data Director, the AS400, the accounting system that the whole county uses, the internet filtering, the email filtering, the paycheck portal, the EduBlogs, everything technology that we have is through the ISD, and we pay a portion of what districts throughout the state pay thousands of dollars to have the rights to use all of that. It's because of Macomb ISD that we have that. The ISD is funded differently than we are. Their funding is much, much, much more linked to property tax value than ours. They were excited at the fact that finally, there's been an increase in that, 1.6%, that we rejoice with a 1.6% increase. That's good news. They are projecting that it will take over 20 years to get even close to where we were in 2008. Over 20 years to reclaim or get back to where we were. You know, and those demographic changes that I talked about at the very beginning, I mean, those services the services needed are only increasing. But yet, funding, for instance, the state used to have special allocated funds for English language learners that they've depleted. It no longer happens. No longer does the ISD get extra funding to help that. So out of their general fund has to cover all those other languages that have appeared for students when they walk in the doors. So the ISD in the last few years, you know, their schools that are the ISD schools, they've had to downsize the number of days in those school years. Employees have taken a 17% pay decrease. But student services remain the focus, just like what we were just talking about. They have not, the Macomb ISD, other ISDs work differently. The Macomb ISD for a lot of years has not build back local school districts. So if we have a student within our district that receives special services or goes to one of the on-site schools in the ISD, local schools used to get a bill for that. They haven't done that in years, and they are hoping and insistent that they just know the financial burden that we're feeling at the local level, and they're trying to protect us as well. The other thing that the ISD brings is so much legislative support, and they are, you know, just always on the phone with Lansing, always talking about specifics about Macomb County needs with education. They are trying to make the communication better, though they have never seen anything like what's happening in Lansing now, with just levels and levels of politics from one side to the other side. They're trying their best to make statements about supporting public education, especially Macomb County needs. So the meeting was 2.5 hours. I tried to downsize as much as I could, and it took a long time, but I just, the Macomb ISD is such a wonderful gift to this area. I think I said this 4 years ago when I went to this meeting. I taught on the west side of the state for a number of years. and the support system is not the same. It's just not the same as what you get from the ISD. So this booklet tells specifically their goals that they have with the way that they are funding things for this next year, and you just can't say enough about the work that they do and how we need to support what they do because they support us so very, very much.
With that, there is a resolution that is required by the Macomb Intermediate School District to adopt their budget for next year in the packet that all 21 districts they're requesting that no later than June 1st of each year to pass the resolution in support of that budget that's before you.
A motion would be in order to, for that resolution?
Do you want me to read it or no?
No, because we
Sure.
can say as it was presented
Okay.
to us.
I motion to approve the resolution as presented. Support.
Is that Jeff? Okay, it has been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Other than that, before I vote, I just want to acknowledge that I am an employee of the Macomb Intermediate School District. Anybody else? Okay, I'm going to do a roll call. Dan?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Andy?
Aye.
Bridget?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Tracy?
Aye.
I vote aye. Motion carries. And Tracy, thank you for going to the meeting and for your report. Okay, next item, looking for a motion to go into closed session for attorney-client communication.
So moved. Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.